Hey, so this morning I'm going to talk to you about the first layer healing, which in the yogic model, the kosha layers of healing, the 5 layers, it's the Annamaya kosha, the physical sheath. And I go into great detail about this in the podcast. So if you on Facebook just head to the links, there's a link right to the podcast. You can go listen to it when you're on a walk or whatever. And I dive deeper and I give you 5 practical steps on some of what I do. Essentially, I practice what I preach in my life to work this layer of healing so you can start to take action right away. So head there. Good morning, Tim. Go listen, download it, leave me a review if you liked it. I would love that. Also, if you're looking to take action, you can head over to the website, igniteyourwellness.com. There's a ton of freebies which you can download. I'm coming up with a few projects that I'm going to be releasing soon, and I'm super excited because a lot of you have been asking for really practical information to get started at home at your own pace, no matter where you're located. So if you're not in San Diego, for example, and you want to work with me, I have some things coming up. Good morning, Lisa. So if you would like to leave me your feedback, please comment below on what you would like, what would help you in your life in terms of health and wellness, or if you're dealing with an injury or pain, anything like that. Tell me what you would like to hear more of, and I'm going to add it into the courses. So some questions that I've been kind of polling my blog list, the followers and my friends I have on Facebook, is what keeps you up at night. So if you have an injury or you're going through back pain or anything like that, neck pain, shoulder pain, is this keeping you up at night? And why? Like, what worries you about this injury? Is it that you're not going to get better, that you're not going to heal, that you're going to have to live with this your whole entire life? Let me know. I want to hear about it. Also, let me know, when you do have an injury, what do you seek out? Like, where do you go? What's the first resource? Is it Google? Do you ask a friend? Do you immediately call a physical therapist? What do you do? So, some questions to ponder. If you have a question right now, please comment below. I would love to hear it. I can bring it into this talk right now or future ones for sure, because I'm always looking for content. Today, specifically, unless someone leaves a question right now, I'm going to be talking about that first layer of healing, that Annamaya kosha, which is the physical layer, so the outmost sheath, so to speak. And definitely, a lot of my patients come into the clinic thinking that there are problems here and we're going to work here. So, for example, they have a disc injury. They come to my clinic thinking we're working only on the discs. Or we are, I should say, typically though, the true source of the problem is not the discs, right? The discs are injured for some reason, and we have to look deeper. Why is that happening? And that takes us into the other layers of koshas typically, which, stay tuned, I'm going to get to that in the future podcast episodes. So a lot of people come to my clinic thinking they're going to work their discs, maybe they're going to hang, get some traction, maybe they're going to jump on the table for some manual work, but I need to fix my disc problem. We're going to work the discs only. Now, in some cases, it is a pure physical problem. It's a structure that was injured. Maybe it was like a quick trauma on the sport field or something like that. And yes, we can hang out in only this physical layer and get really, really good results. Most of the time, however, I find that injuries, they go deeper than this physical layer. Even the quick traumatic experiences, you're on the soccer field, you sprain an ankle, sometimes our emotional component, which is in getting into the other layers of the koshas, can have a huge impact on either helping healing or delaying it. And so stay tuned for that. Today, I'm going to talk a bit about yoga, which a lot of us go to yoga classes, maybe come to the clinic here for one-on-one sessions because, again, we want to work with a physical problem. We feel that our hamstrings are tight, we need more flexibility, we need more mobility in our hips, we need more strength, and all that is really good. It is important to address this physical layer. It's also what we eat. So in terms of yoga, there's a lot of controversy on cueing. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just led an anatomy teacher training for Prana last weekend for the 200 hour, and then this coming weekend I'm leading anatomy for the 300 hour. And often the teachers are very surprised to find that not all cueing is appropriate or correct, and the words, if you're a student, if you go to the mat, what you're hearing, how you perceive those words might be very different than someone else. And how you perceive and then what your body does in action to, the cue, for example, let's say engage the core, can be very different. Like how you engage your core versus someone else engaging their core can be very different. And just taken out of isolation, it doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It can just have a negative consequence in your body, meaning if you had that disc injury, if you're over engaging the core, it can exacerbate pain. And here you are thinking you're doing a really, really great thing by going to yoga and engaging your core and strengthening, when in fact you're actually aggravating your disc because it's way too much pressure. On the other hand, you have a student that goes to the same yoga class, same teacher, hears the same cue, and they engage their core a little bit differently, and they have a positive consequence in their body where they're actually strengthening their deep transverse without too much pressure, and they can leave class feeling good. So same cue, same teacher, same class, because two different bodies, two different perceptions of one cue, two different results completely. And this is a huge concept, because if you think of how many cues are in one yoga class, two things. There's a lot of room for error, and there's a lot of room for improvement. And so you, as a student, what can you do so you're on the side of the equation for improvement, right? Because most of us go to a yoga class because they want to feel better in your body in some way, or you want to decompress the mind, whatever it is. So many benefits of yoga, okay? So how can you take these cues that you're hearing from a teacher and make sure that you're applying it in your body? Well, first of all, apply it, right? So right off the bat, you can hear a cue, and you can hear it. It's like, I hear this all the time from some of the mentors I follow, again, Paul Goff, Brooke Castillo, on their podcast, is this difference between consuming content all the time, which I have a habit of doing. I'm so guilty. I love to listen to podcasts, but then taking it to the next level and actually applying the information. So you can do the same thing in yoga classes, right? You can show up, be there on the mat, hear the cues, consume the content of yoga essentially, but never apply it. And if you do that, that's fine. No problem. Some days you just need to zone out, right? Okay? However, I encourage you to imply, only because you're missing out on huge, huge benefits, right? And if you're not applying it, you also putting yourself for increased risk of injury or pain, just because you're not maybe as aware of what's going on in your body or alignment or certain things. So listen to a cue, apply the cue. So actually hear it and bring it into your body, and then take an action in your body where you're going to follow through with that cue, for example. Now, there's so many cues of yoga that happen so quickly, and I just went on a rambling few minute section on one cue. Okay, so how do you start to digest all these cues, right? So that's the whole creative and the art of being a yoga teacher, is giving a certain amount of cues, but then giving time for the student to digest and integrate those cues. So leaving the space of stillness, so important. So as a student, when you're hearing these cues, is actually taking a moment to bring them in the body. So if a teacher does say engage the core, and they give specific instructions on how to engage the core, for example, draw the belly button towards the spine, a subtle lift of the pelvic floor, for example, can you bring that action into your body? And then, more importantly, can you feel the consequence of that action? So a lot of the times in yoga, we hear a cue, we may or may not apply it, so we might miss out on that first step. Let's say we do apply it, but do we ever slow down enough in class to actually feel the consequence in the body? If it's a restorative class, for sure. Yin class, for sure. Slow moving therapeutic class, possibly. But I encourage you this week, if you go to yoga, to do these two things. One, listen to the cue. Maybe more than two things. Listen to the cue. Two, apply it in your body. Three, feel the consequence of that cue. Did it affect you positively or negatively? Okay? Release the judgment. This is just from a place of observation. If it did affect you negatively, let's say you engaged the core, we're sticking with this one cue, and you felt, oh, that's too much for my low back. I feel a pressure here that was not good. Okay? Get out of the drama of the story that you're injuring yourself, this is yoga is bad, this teacher sucks, all this kinds of stuff, right? Let all that go. Just know, for that moment in time, the way you engaged your core was not effective for your body. So, then you can come to someone like me, for example, and you can learn how to engage your core more efficiently for your body. It might just be a subtle tweak of something like going back to the very beginning, not over-engaging, not over-scooping the tail if you have a disc injury, for example, and just changing that one thing. You can go back to the same teacher, the same class, hear the same cue, but just apply it to your body differently and get a totally different outcome. Okay? So I think sometimes we are just missing some of these key steps of yoga, and then we either write it off, or we write that teacher off, or we write that style of class off as not being good for us, when essentially it is. It's just our interpretation of this one line a teacher said, or our inability to actually apply the information that the teacher is saying it. And that's only because we're just stuck in our patterns of moving and thinking. And I listened to, I forget where this, I want to credit the person that I heard this from, and I don't remember where I learned this. It was just this week. But we all have discomfort, right? And so when working with the physical sheath, there is a layer of discomfort. If we want to build strength in our body, you're going to feel the discomfort of being sore the next day because you had those micro tears. When building flexibility, when we're actually in the moment of doing a stretch, there is somewhat discomfort. So you have a choice, right? If you want to make a change, it's usually because you're in a place of discomfort right now. That discomfort usually says, oh, okay, I need to make a change. However, then we start to do a few things to help. We go to a yoga class so we can have more flexibility in our body, for example, to take pressure off our discs. Then we go to yoga class and we're like, this is uncomfortable. And so then we stop applying the cues and we go back into our old model of how we move, and we keep that inflexibility in our body. So you have a choice. You can be uncomfortable with the lack of change in your life leading to that result of disc pain, for example, or you can be uncomfortable working through the discomfort to get you to a better place, where then you're going to move into a different discomfort and an uncomfortable level that you'll have to improve upon. So it's your choice what kind of discomfort you want to be in your life. So just knowing that you do have a choice. I think sometimes patients come to my clinic and they think they don't have a choice at all in regards to their back pain or the disc pain. And you do have a choice. Many, many, many choices. But to get there, you have to take a step back and observe. So that's my thoughts for today. Please leave your comments below, your questions, and head over to the podcast where I give you 5 practical steps on how to work with this physical layer in your body, the Annamaya Kosha, and then stay tuned for the deeper layers in the future. And remember, if you're going to a yoga class or going to any strength training, any class, whatever, Pilates, whatever it may be, hear the cue, apply the cue, notice the consequence. Try it today. Let me know how it goes. All right, bye.